A big win for Republicans in the Supreme Court as the justices let Alabama move forward with a new congressional map that takes away a district from the Democrats.
Yeah, so the ruling overturns a lower court that found the redrawn map intentionally discriminated against black voters in violation of the Constitution's 14th Amendment, as well as the Voting Rights Act. So to discuss all this and more, let's bring in attorney and principal at Jonna Spilbor Law, Jonna Spilbor, as well as our senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Good morning to both of you. So, Judge, this ruling clears the way for the GOP to pick up another seat in the midterms. It is interesting how Democrat judges see creating districts based solely on race as upholding the Voting Rights Act, yet conservatives see it as a violation of the Voting Rights Act. Who is right here? What do you make of all of this?
Who is right is who has the last say.
Yeah.
And the last say is in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It is interesting that the lower court actually articulated all the so-called racial biases in the Alabama legislature when it found that this voting map is based on race, which of course is prohibited by the 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court has, in my view, quite properly said the states cannot use race. They cannot use race to help a racial group. They cannot use race to harm a racial group. The lower court found that the state of Alabama, its legislature, used race to harm a racial group. Supreme Court, in one of those emergency rulings, stop, go, yes, no, you've heard me complain about this for a long time. They don't give reasons. Basically said, no, you can't use race. The congressional map passed by the legislature stands.
Okay.
So, Jonna, Democrats, of course, want to use race, and then they want to call it racist if you don't use race. But the irony here is that many of these so-called black majority districts are actually represented by white Democrats.
Yeah, and that's, I have to reiterate what the judge said. This is a constitutional collision between who's got the bigger muscle, the Voting Rights Act or the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. And, you know, the judge is right once again. The Supreme Court has the last word and said, look, in this case, the Equal Rights Clause Equal Protection Clause has to prevail. And it makes perfect sense. And I think part of the reasons why the Democrats are also up in arms is because of the proximity to the midterm elections, right? This is obviously going to be a big win for the conservatives, but I also agree with the decision.
I do want to pivot over to this. So an Obama-appointed federal judge allowing a progressive group in Washington, D.C. to continue displaying a flag with the slang phrase 8647, after concluding that it is, quote, difficult to fathom that a reasonable observer would view the flag as a true threat. But we know former FBI Director James Comey is facing federal charges for the same message written in shells. You can see them right there on a beach. He claims, of course, he just stumbled across them. Judge, what's your take on this?
Well, here's the law. Because of the First Amendment, the benefit of the doubt is always given to free speech. So if there are many interpretations of a particular clause, and there are obviously many interpretations of this phrase 8647, and at least one of them is rational and lawful, it trumps the others. Trumps, no pun intended. So in my view, the judge properly applied the law. If 86 means to a lot of people, get rid of. We don't have espresso anymore in the restaurant tonight. It's 86th. It's a lawful use of the phrase. It's an odd case because this was a flag and a guy was arrested for carrying the flag, and then the group that promoted the flag brought this lawsuit, and the judge ruled as you just indicated.
All right.
Very interesting. All right. Judge, Jonna, great to see you guys this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.